No one is above scrutiny. Transparency and equity, hallmark of Buhari's anti-corruption fight. Presidency reassures
We want our
Nigerians.
tertiary institutions to be very, very important, very safe and peaceful learning environments for everyone.
The National Assembly comes down hard on sexual offenders, recommend 14 years imprisonment and establishment of special courts for trial.
3 hours before our flight for local flights, so that all of the protocols can be done and we're able to depart on time.
Plus, coping with COVID-19, correspondent on the aviation sector and the new normal. Good evening. It's nice to have you join us on the Network News at 9. I'm Ian Ray John. With me tonight are Dotun Ogunyemi in Lagos and Mohammed Ibrahim in Maiduguri. President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed Nigeria's appreciation to the People's Republic of China for immensely contributing towards reversing the nation's critical infrastructure deficit. This was at a virtual farewell audience with the outgoing Chinese ambassador to Nigeria, Dr. Zhou Pingjian. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has the report.
During the 4-year tour of duty to Nigeria by the outgoing Chinese envoy, President Muhammadu Buhari had visited China twice, first on a state visit in 2016 at the invitation of President Xi Jinping, and the other for the China-Africa Cooperation Summit in 2018. Although Nigeria and China enjoy bilateral relations spanning 50 years, benefits derived in the last 4 years have been remarkably outstanding. As President Buhari kept emphasizing, the Chinese government interventions in critical infrastructure and other key economic sectors have positively impacted millions of Nigerians and will continue to do so in generations to come. And during this virtual farewell audience with the outgoing Chinese ambassador, Dr. Zhu Pingyang, the president maintained that there is no way a country can move forward if it is hampered by severe deficit in infrastructure. He therefore asked the envoy to formally convey his administration's appreciation to President Xi Jinping for the contributions of China towards reversing the infrastructure deficit in the country. Nigeria, he explained, had suffered a lot in the areas of rail, roads, airports, and power, saying no country can develop in such a situation. China, President Buhari said, had played its role effectively in all the memoranda of understanding signed with Nigeria, and his administration is quite appreciative. The outgoing ambassador, Dr. Zhu Pingyang, had described his tour of duty to Nigeria as highly rewarding and greatly appreciating the government and people of Nigeria. Having visited all the 36 states of the country, the envoy said he had seen the remarkable progress being made under the Buhari administration and expressed confidence in the ability of Nigeria to fly higher. Dr. Pingyang appreciated Nigeria's solidarity with China at critical times, particularly when COVID-19 broke out. The outgoing ambassador said the One China policy is dear to his country and lauded Nigeria for her support. The envoy promised to remain a goodwill ambassador of Nigeria. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The presidency on Tuesday declared that the ongoing probe of the acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ibrahim Magu, is an affirmation that nobody under the present administration is above scrutiny. According to facts made available to State House correspondents by a source in the presidency, the interrogation of the anti-graft boss is to give him the opportunity to clear himself of the weighty allegations. The source maintains that the investigation of the EFCC boss reinforces the Buhari administration's commitment to transparency and accountability, but assures that the administration will not prejudge anyone as it can be counted on to uphold justice and fairness. The panel investigating allegations against acting EFCC chairman had been sitting for some weeks now. Heading to the National Assembly now, sexual predators in the tertiary institutions risk 14 years imprisonment as Senate passes the Sexual Harassment Bill 2020. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports.
It was the first plenary of the week, and the report of the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the bill against sexual exploitation in tertiary institutions topped the scale of bills scheduled for consideration. Senate's intervention towards checking this crime reached its climax as the bill to criminalize the offense with severe punishment passes third reading.
That the introduction of this bill is a welcome development
is to make sure that we protect the student in the tertiary institution.
We want our tertiary institutions to be very, very important, very safe and peaceful learning environments.
Clause 7 of the bill seeks to make the crime a strict liability. What this means is that an adult who was raped will be treated as a minor, relieving her of the burden of proof. But that received divergent opinions.
It should be deemed a strict liability offense, in which case the prosecution is no longer required to prove the mens rea.
If you take the extreme, for instance, case of deliberate blackmail, which is a possibility. It's not on all the cases of sexual harassment that we found the ladies all the time correct. You must prove there's actual sexual intercourse or demand for that sex.
The bill to repeal the Police Act 2004 and to reenact the Police Act 2020 for a more responsive and responsible police force was also passed.
That the police abide, enforce certain constitutional provisions, particularly fundamental rights of persons in police custody under Chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. 5
bills passed first reading. These include the Institute of Risk and Disaster Management Establishment Bill. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives is seeking the establishment of special courts to handle rape and other gender violence-related offences. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports on this and other issues at plenary Tuesday.
Following a motion from Representative Idem Uime, House members were concerned that an average of 5 cases of rape per day between January and May 2020 were recorded by the Nigeria Police. The special courts for offenders will fast-track administration of justice.
The federal government should, without delay, launch a national campaign against rape and gender-based violence. The campaign which should include advocacy, public sensitization, and social mobilization.
The House also passed a resolution to investigate alleged flouting of presidential directive on the suspension of the management of Nigeria's Social Insurance Trust Fund by the Minister of Labour, while a call on the Niger Delta Development Commission to intervene and reconstruct the Ikot-Ekpene Bridge, considering its economic relevance in the region, was adopted. A motion from Deputy Minority Leader Ndude Lumelu alleging that NNPC tampered with NLNG funds is to be investigated.
NNPC, who represent the government of Nigeria on the board of LNG, had unilaterally, without the required consultation with the state and mandatory appropriation from the National Assembly, illegally tampered with the funds of LNG dividend account to the tune of $1.05 billion.
Other features at plenary include the passing at second reading of 5 bills. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Away from the National Assembly now, the Nigerian government will soon roll out a comprehensive master plan that will cater for juveniles in the nation's criminal justice system. This was announced at a joint briefing held by the Minister of Justice and the Chief Judge of the FCT High Court on the activities of the Presidential Committee on Decongestion and Reform of Correctional Centres. Femi Okeo reports.
On the 1st of June 2017, Nigeria's Federal Executive Council directed the creation of a special presidential committee to decongest and reform the nation's prisons, as it was then known. This committee was inaugurated on the 17th of October 2017 under the chairmanship of the Chief Judge of the FCT High Court, Justice Ishaq Bello. And so now, for the last 3 years, the committee has gone around 18 states of the Federation, visited 39 correctional centers, and released 7,813 inmates. Given an update of the impact of the Presidential Committee on the nation's correctional and criminal justice system, Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation said more fundamental are the recommendations of the committee, which have resulted in both legislative and executive interventions that have improved the nation's correctional and custodial systems. Both the minister and the chairman of the Presidential Committee said in view of their importance to the nation's future, juveniles in the nation's criminal justice system need to be particularly cared for through a comprehensive master plan which is about to be rolled out.
The committee is indeed a blessing. Its recommendations as they arise are being factored into legal framework by way of legislations that will now see to it that the circumstances associated with juveniles are indeed adequately addressed as well.
The master plan we have in the FCT is to have a sophisticated family court where you have within a window for reintegration between these young ones and their family members.
In the words of the Solicitor General of the Federation, Dayo Akpata, passion and vision have been the driving force behind the success of the project so far. And these are qualities that are now more needed as we go into the next phase of the project, which is the rehabilitation of juveniles. In Abuja, Femi Okewu, NTA News.
Now talking politics, the All Progressives Congress has inaugurated the party's screening and appeal committees for Ondo State governorship aspirants. Secretary of the Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Committee of the party, Senator John Akpan Udoedege, presided over the event and urged members of the committees to be focused and uphold the principle of fair conduct in the discharge of their duties, as the task before them is so dear to the party.
In the context, we can assure you that the aspirants who have indicated interest to fly the flag of our party in the Ondo governorship election will be subject to the same fair, credible, and transparent standards in the nomination process. Kindly note that your action in this regard could either make or mar the party's image. So I urge you to proceed in the strength of your mandate.
We will do our jobs diligently, transparently, and to the benefit and upliftment of the All Progressives Congress.
The screening and appeal committees have 9 members each, expected to screen 12 APC aspirants ahead of the party's governorship primary election scheduled to hold on the 20th of July 2020. And still in Ondo State, the House of Assembly has received an impeachment notice on the state's Deputy Governor, Agbola Ajayi, who recently defected to the PDP from the governing party in the state. The House has therefore set up a panel of inquiry to investigate allegations of misconduct leveled against the Deputy Governor for fair hearing. Olubukola Aduwo takes it up from there.
The Ondo State House of Assembly, which had been on recess since May 21st, reconvened Tuesday with full membership of the House. The only item on the other paper was to serve impeachment notice on the state Deputy Governor, Agbola Ajayi. However, only Ondo